Stop overthinking what you might have said or what you might have done, because trust me, it wasn't your fault. Allow me to explain. North Vietnamese naval officials have publicly stated that during the second incident, the U.S. Maddox was never attacked by North Vietnamese naval forces. And in the documentary film The Fog of War, the U.S. Defense Secretary concedes that during the second incident, the attack never happened. Hence, many historians have suggested that perhaps the second Gulf of Tonkin incident was simply a pretext manufactured for the Vietnam War. You see, in order for the public to support a war, there always needs to be some justification. Pearl Harbor was a perfect justification for the U.S. to enter into World War II. But when there has to be a war, what if that justification isn't there? Then, reality needs to be manipulated. And in some cases, events might just need to be exaggerated, while in other cases, events might need to be simply fabricated. You see, the world isn't exactly black and white, good and bad. There is no such thing as good and bad or right and wrong. There is only perceived good and bad, perceived right and wrong. And humans always want to be on that perceived side of good, right, moral. This is called a casus belli. From Latin, it means occasion for war.
It's over for DBDR. I didn't want to make this video, but he said I am on cocaine because I don't support Marxism. That's enough justification. I need to go all out.
Let's imagine a high school fight. It's 5 big jocks versus 1 small kid. The single small kid gets pummeled. Later, you find out that he was just minding his own business, and the 5 big jocks were just bullying this kid for fun. But this is only what you see in Hollywood movies, because the director wants you to sympathize with the small kid. Reality is very different. In reality, those 5 jocks wait for an opportunity to justify the pummeling, so everybody sides with them. Perhaps the kid approaches a girl and gets rejected. Those 5 jocks will approach the kid, telling him he has no right harassing women. Then everybody takes the jock's side, of course, because harassing women is wrong, of course. Now, this happens on a much less dramatic scale in everyday social situations. Maybe you've been texting a girl that actually doesn't like you. She doesn't want to seem like a bad person and just block you, so she'll wait for an opportunity.
He could not stop talking about this. This was in his head rent-free and still is tonight, probably. He told me he's severely depressed over this, but basically, he asked, he's like, hey, you single? And she said, that's not something you ask somebody. And she got like really angry and left, and we were all like, what the fuck? Because even she even said to him, it was so cringe, she's like, I'm a psychology major, and I can detect that from body language that you're interested in me. It's just so cringe. But anyway, he flops, she just storms out angrily. I don't know if that's a word, but angry, she just storms out. I'm like, oh, it's so over. Like, damn, that's brutal. This motherfucker, he couldn't stop talking about it. He was like a broken record. He's like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And like at the after party, all of his like, because there's like 5 guys left, and they were all like, bro, you weren't confident enough, bro. You didn't have good enough game, you weren't kind enough. Literally, the dude said that, and I literally had to step in and say, you guys are all lying to him. It is his.
Maybe you say a harmless joke. She will take this as an opportunity to call you offensive or rude, and then proceed to block you. Now you end up overthinking your actions, every little detail, wondering where you went wrong. In reality, you never had a chance to begin with. If someone who looked like Brad Pitt said that same joke, it wouldn't be an issue. Maybe you're hanging out with people who don't want you there, but they don't want to seem mean and just tell you to leave. Instead, they wait for an opportunity to justify it. One bad joke from you is all it takes for them to tell you to leave without seeming like bad people. Consequently, you're constantly overthinking everything you do and say. Your social anxiety is off the charts, and it's because people are searching for these justifications. You're constantly receiving negative reinforcement, so of course you're going to second guess anything you do or say. This is a completely natural behavior. In order to make people stop searching for these justifications, you need to offer something of value. I already told you, this is how you get what you want in life.
His name, Yelo Chutsan. By the 12th century, China had a culture which had been thriving for over 2,000 years. Genghis Khan wanted to obliterate all of it. He figured it would be better to exterminate the Chinese and let the grass grow. And so he was going to destroy the entire place, leveling all of the cities. That was until Chucai, a foreigner who grew to appreciate Chinese culture, convinced him that he would reap riches from the land if he taxed the citizens instead of exterminating the citizens. And so Khan saw the wisdom in this, and he did as Chucai suggested, and Chucai got what he wanted.
For some people, they have innate value to others, and they don't need to do anything. Some people are beautiful, for example. They always have something to offer, and it's not just towards the opposite sex. Having attractive friends leads to meeting more people, for instance. Now, what if you have nothing innate to offer, though? The route most people end up going when they subconsciously figure this out is money, beta bucksing. I don't think that's a sustainable solution, though, and I don't have a perfect solution, unfortunately, but I have an idea. I think validating people and making them feel like they're important could be valuable. This is like emotional value. Similarly, people who've been friends since childhood have transactional relationships too, but it's very different. It's an emotional transaction, which is as genuine as any friendship could possibly be. That's why I think it's really important to keep your original friends that you met when you were an irrational child. Every relationship is transactional, but genuine friendships are just emotional transactions. You need to accept that any friends you make as a rational adult will be far more transactional in a practical sense. So stop overthinking all of your actions. The key is to make people stop searching for the justifications, not perfecting your actions and words. Your social anxiety is telling you to put a band-aid on a broken leg. You need to offer value to solve the problem. And unfortunately, you might have to work harder than others to offer that value. So, where to start? I'd highly suggest reading the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. What looks to be a normie book on the surface is actually filled with hidden gems if you read between the lines, and even describes genetic determinism at one point.
For example, suppose you had inherited the same body and temperament and mind that Al Capone had. Suppose you had had his environment and experiences. You would then be precisely what he was and where he was, for it is those things and only those things that made him what he was. The only reason, for example, that you were not a rattlesnake is that your mother and father weren't rattlesnakes. You deserve very little credit for being what you are, and remember the people who come to you irritated, bigoted, unreasoning deserve very little discredit for being what they are. Feel sorry for the poor devils, pity them, sympathize with them. Say to yourself, there, but for the grace of God, go I.
Read the book very carefully, reread the chapters, and actually try your best to apply the advice. Wait, this entire video is a paradox. We've just gone in a circle, haven't we?
Stop overthinking what you might have said or what you might have done, because trust me, it wasn't your fault.
I guess it really all comes down to how much innate value you have to offer. The less innate value you have, the more you'll tend to overthink everything you do and say. Nonetheless, it still remains true that it's probably not your fault.
Don't fuck with me, alright? Don't fuck with me. It's not you. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.